Holy hell, Tom swore under his breath, his heartbeat accelerating with each second the object drew nearer. He snatched up his phone, hesitating only briefly before deciding against calling the authorities. This was something he needed to see for himself. The craft, sleek and defiant against the gravitational pull, crashed into the cliffs with an earth-shaking impact. Tom grabbed his coat and keys, his mind racing with possibilities as he drove towards the site. The once quiet night was now a cacophony of alarms and sirens in the distance, but Tom was ahead of the response curve. Arriving at the cliffs, Tom's eyes widened at the sight of the spacecraft, half buried in the earth, its hull steaming as it cooled. The hatch hissed open, and two figures emerged from the shadowy interior. They were almost human in appearance, but their movements were too fluid, their eyes too bright, reflecting the moonlight with an unnatural glow. "What the actual fuck?" Tom whispered, ducking behind his truck as the figures surveyed their surroundings. The taller one, her skin shimmering slightly under the night sky, spotted Tom. She stepped forward, her voice sharp but carrying an unmistakable edge of authority. "Human, why are you here? Did you cause our descent?" Tom stood slowly, hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. No, I just saw the crash." "I'm Tom," he said, trying to keep his voice even. "I'm not here to hurt you." "You're not from around here, huh?" The second figure, softer in demeanor, placed a hand on her companion's arm, her voice smooth, like velvet but firm. "We are from Xythera." "I am Zara, and this is my sister, Alia." "We are here. Not by choice." Her eyes scanned the horizon nervously. Tom nodded slowly, processing the gravity of their words. "Xythera, that's not in any space agency's database." "Look, you're probably not safe out here. There's a town nearby. I can help you get settled, help you blend in until you figure out your next move." Alia studied him for a long moment, her gaze piercing yet indecisive. Finally, she nodded stiffly. "We accept your assistance, Tom of Earth. Lead the way." As they followed Tom to his truck, Zara's expression softened, the corners of her mouth twitching upwards in a semblance of a smile. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper as they climbed into the vehicle. "No problem," Tom replied, glancing at them through the rearview mirror. "Welcome to Earth, I guess. Let's get you two out of sight before the cavalry arrives." Tom's truck rumbled through the quiet streets of Seabrook, its headlights slicing through the fog that rolled in from the sea. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with a tense curiosity. Alia and Zara sat stiffly in the back seat, their eyes wide as they absorbed the unfamiliar scenery. "Here we are, home sweet home," Tom announced as they pulled up to an old lighthouse on the outskirts of town. Its beacon was dark, replaced long ago with newer, more efficient technologies. The building now served as Tom's personal sanctuary, an observatory, a place away from the prying eyes of the townsfolk. As they unloaded from the truck, Tom led them inside, flipping on lights and revealing a cluttered space filled with books, maps, and various astronomical equipment. "It's not much, but it's safe," he assured them. Zara's gaze lingered on a wall covered in celestial photographs and charts. "You study the stars," she observed, her tone a mixture of surprise and respect. "Yeah, I guess we have that in common," Tom chuckled, trying to ease the tension. "Except you two have actually been out there." Alia, who had been silent since their arrival, finally spoke. "We need to contact our planet. Let them know we survived," she said, her voice firm but laced with a hint of desperation. Tom frowned. "I'm not sure how to help with that, but you're welcome to use whatever you need here." He gestured to the array of equipment. As Alia busied herself with the telescopes, adjusting dials with a practiced hand, Zara approached Tom. "Thank you, Tom. Not many would have helped strangers." "Especially strangers like us," she said softly, her eyes searching his. "Couldn't just leave you out there," Tom replied, shrugging uncomfortably under her intense, grateful gaze. "Besides, it's not every day you get to meet real-life aliens. Just wish it was under better circumstances for you." Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Tom stiffened, his hand instinctively reaching for a baseball bat he kept nearby. Stay here, he instructed, moving towards the door with caution. Peering through the peephole, he saw Sarah, his close friend and the local journalist known for her tenacity and fearless pursuit of truth. Relieved, he opened the door. Sarah, what are you doing here so late? Sarah pushed past him, her eyes bright with curiosity. I heard the commotion at the cliffs. You skipped our meetup, and then I see you racing off toward the shore? Spill? What's going on? Tom glanced back at the sisters, who were now watching the exchange closely. It's a long story, he started, but they need our help, Sarah. Sarah's gaze fell on Alia and Zara, and her journalist instincts kicked in. This is incredible, she breathed, already imagining the headlines. No stories, Tom cut in quickly. Not yet. They're not here to be your next big scoop, Sarah. They're here because they've got nowhere else to go. Sarah nodded, her expression softening. Okay, no stories. For now, but I want to help, too. Whatever you need. The sun had barely crested the horizon, casting a pale glow over Seabrook's sleepy streets as Sarah and Tom discussed the situation over strong coffee. The aroma filled the quaint kitchen, mixing with the salty breeze that whispered through the open window. So, what's the plan? We can't keep them hidden forever, Sarah stated, tapping her fingers impatiently on the table. Tom sighed, his gaze drifting towards the living room, where Alia and Zara were quietly conversing. First, we need to figure out exactly what they want. If they're going to stay, they'll need identities, stories. Hell, a whole damn background. Sarah nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. I could draft up some cover stories. Journalist, remember? But we need more than just fake IDs. These ladies need to learn how to blend in, understand our customs. As if on cue, Zara walked into the kitchen. We would appreciate guidance on your ways. We've noticed many nuances that are foreign to us, she said, her voice measured but curious. Tom smiled, encouraged by her initiative. That's a start. Maybe you could join Sarah here on some of her trips around town. Low-key stuff, just to get the lay of the land. Sarah perked up at that. Yes, and I'll show you how to use our tech phones, computers, the internet. It's the best way to learn about Earth without attracting attention. Meanwhile, Alia, still unsure about engaging too deeply with human society, hung back, observing their interactions with a critical eye. She was interrupted by Tom, who sat down beside her, offering a friendly grin. How are you holding up? I know this isn't easy. Alia's expression softened slightly. I am coping, but I am concerned about our safety. What if we are discovered? We're doing everything we can to keep under the radar. Sarah's got contacts who can help, and I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, Tom reassured her, his tone earnest. Later that day, Sarah took Zara into town under the pretense of a local cultural exchange program. They visited the library, a cafe, and even a small community fair. Zara absorbed everything with an eager enthusiasm, asking questions and learning quickly. So, people gather here for enjoyment? To commune without purpose? Zara asked as they walked through the fair, her eyes wide at the sight of families enjoying the sunny day. Exactly, Sarah laughed. It's about feeling connected, part of a community. Something that's just for pleasure, not survival. Zara nodded thoughtfully. On Xythera, every action must contribute to the collective. There is little room for pleasure. Back at the lighthouse, Tom was teaching Alia how to use the internet. You can access information about anything here. It's a tool and a weapon, depending on how you use it, he explained, showing her search engines and news sites. Alia, fascinated despite herself, started typing slowly, her fingers awkward on the keyboard. How do you ensure this power is not abused? Tom chuckled. We don't always, to be honest. It's a constant battle. The rumble of the approaching engine grew louder as headlights pierced the twilight. Tom peered out from behind a curtain, his hand resting lightly on the baseball bat by the door. Looks like trouble, he muttered under his breath. Sarah, who had been discussing a new article on her laptop, looked up sharply. Government? She asked, her voice tense. Could be. Or could just be someone lost and looking for directions, Tom replied, though his tone suggested he doubted the latter. Alia and Zara tensed, their senses heightened by the potential threat. They had come to expect such disruptions, but that didn't make them any less unsettling. We should prepare to defend ourselves, Alia said, her voice calm but firm. No, let me handle this, Tom insisted, stepping outside before anyone could argue. In the driveway, a black SUV sat idling, its windows tinted dark. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out, dressed in a nondescript suit that screamed government official. "Can I help you?" Tom called out, standing on the porch, his posture relaxed but ready. The man flashed a badge briefly. "I'm looking for Tom Walters." "Are you him?" "That's me." "What's this about?" Tom asked, eyeing the badge. It was real enough, from the looks of it, Department of Homeland Security. "I'm Agent Daniels. We've had reports of unusual activity in this area. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" The agent asked, his tone polite but insistent. Tom shrugged. "Sure, but there's nothing unusual going on here. Just a quiet night at home." Meanwhile, inside, Sarah whispered to the sisters, "Stay out of sight. I'll record everything. Just in case." Agent Daniels seemed to accept Tom's invitation, stepping closer. "We've heard reports of a meteor crash nearby. Know anything about that?" "Just what I've heard on the news," Tom lied smoothly, his gaze never wavering from the agent's face. Daniels nodded, though it was clear he wasn't entirely convinced. "If you see anything out of the ordinary, you'll let us know, right? We're just trying to keep everyone safe." "Of course," Tom agreed, watching as the agent made his way back to his vehicle. He didn't relax until the taillights had disappeared down the road. Back inside, the atmosphere was charged with relief and residual fear. "That was too close," Zara breathed, her relief palpable. "We may need to consider moving you two somewhere else," Sarah suggested, closing her laptop. "Somewhere less accessible." Alia shook her head. "And then what? Keep running every time someone gets curious? We need a more permanent solution." Tom, leaning against the wall, rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Maybe it's time to stop hiding. If we brought your story to the public on our terms, it might be better than waiting for the government to expose you." Sarah looked intrigued but cautious. "That's risky, but it might also shift public opinion in your favor. It's a powerful narrative, aliens seeking refuge, not invasion." "We need to think this through," Tom concluded, turning to look at Alia and Zara. "It's your call." Under the veil of pre-dawn darkness, Seabrook seemed to hold its breath. Inside the old lighthouse, the glow of a single lamp illuminated determined faces. Tom, Sarah, Alia, and Zara huddled over a laptop, finalizing their plan to go public. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Tom asked, his voice low. "Once this is out, there's no going back." Alia nodded, her expression steely. "We've hidden long enough. It's time we faced this head-on." Sarah, ever the pragmatist, adjusted her camera. "We'll start with a live stream. I've already set up alerts to my network. People are curious, hungry for the truth. They'll listen." As the sun peeked over the horizon, casting long shadows across the room, Sarah's broadcast went live. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her tone serious but inviting. "Today, we bring you a story of cosmic significance." Tom introduced Alia and Zara, who, with quiet dignity, shared their harrowing journey and their desperate escape from Xythera's oppressive regime. "We seek refuge, understanding, and the chance to live freely," Alia declared, her voice resonant, even through the digital transmission. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Viewer numbers spiked, comments flooded, in most expressing support and fascination, others skeptical, but crucially, the story was out, spreading like wildfire across social media and news outlets. However, the exposure came with its own dangers. Within hours, government vehicles converged on Seabrook. Agent Daniels, now flanked by additional personnel, approached the lighthouse once more. This time, their demeanor was less inquisitive and more assertive. Tom and Sarah met them outside, the live stream still broadcasting to a rapt audience. "We're not hiding anything," Tom stated firmly. "Everything we know is already out there." Daniels eyed the camera warily. "This isn't a game. You're harboring aliens who are here illegally." Alia stepped forward, her presence commanding. "We've shared our story with the world," she said, her voice steady. "People know we come in peace. We ask only for sanctuary." The standoff seemed to stretch on, tension mounting with each passing moment. Viewers around the world watched, many voicing their support for Alia and Zara's right to asylum. It was then that the local sheriff, who had been watching the broadcast, arrived with his deputies. "Agent Daniels, I suggest you reconsider your stance," he announced, his authority clear despite the federal presence. "These women have the town's support. They've committed no crimes here." Caught between public pressure and local law enforcement, Daniels was forced to reevaluate. With a grimace, he finally nodded. "We'll need to discuss this with higher authorities. For now, we'll stand down." Relief washed over the crowd as the government agents retreated. The live feed captured cheers from the onlookers, their voices a blend of relief and triumph. In the aftermath, as the community rallied around them, Alia and Zara finally felt a semblance of safety. They had faced their adversaries openly and had not been found wanting. Later, as they stood watching the sunset, Zara turned to Alia. "Earth is nothing like Xythera," she mused. "No," Alia agreed, a smile touching her lips for the first time in what felt like forever. "It's better. It's home,